Greetings, YouTube. I want you to imagine for a minute that this regular polygon represents the sum total of human knowledge about arachnids. Every piece of data that the human species has ever collected about spiders is being represented for the moment by this regular polygon. Now, you have that image in your head. You understand just how tightly focused this piece of knowledge is. Got that? Okay. Throw it away, because that knowledge has nothing to do whatsoever with this movie, Eight-Legged Freaks. This isn't a movie about spiders. This is an homage to horror movies of the 1950s and arguably the 1960s. The classic monster movie. To my mind, the classic black and white monster movie. You know, the things where aliens drop from space, or a nuclear bomb goes off and turns a grasshopper into something the size of a greyhound. Things like that. Where oozes come out of sewers and spiders become giant size. Lizards decide they want to eat people. The classic late night schlock Z-grade movies that were put out by the hundreds in the 50s. And as an homage to that era of films, this movie is a complete and utter success. It makes no sense logically. The plot line has lots of holes. The monsters themselves are absurd. The acting is actually surprisingly good, and I quite enjoyed some of the dialogue. But it's more of an homage than a film that really stands on its own legs. I saw this when it originally came out in the theater. I thought it was a hoot. Quite enjoyed myself. Even though the biology fan that I am was going nuts when they was doing things about spiders. Because you see, spiders don't get much bigger than this, and there's a reason for that. Because if they get much bigger than this, they collapse and they don't move anymore. They don't hunt in packs, and there are no communal colonies of spiders. There are no worker spiders in the world. Spiders are all working for themselves. In fact, male spiders, if they're really that lucky, won't get eaten after they mate. No, this movie has nothing to do with that. But even though it's an homage, it does throw a few curveballs into the classic Saturday afternoon or drive-in theater horror movie, the monster movie. The scientist in the movie, instead of being played by some government agent or some academic from a nearby college, is played by a kid with access to the internet and a thing for insects, which works really well in this. The local sheriff is played by Carrie Werrer, a woman, and does an excellent job. And I had a rather large crush on Carrie Werrer when I was younger. I thought she was the bomb, and she's still a stunning woman. The deputy is a bit bumbling, and that's not far off the mark. They often had someone as comedic relief in this, and that's the job of the deputy in this. But the main character here, our hero, if you will, isn't as square-jawed and manly as you might expect to find in an actual classic 50s-era monster movie. He's a much more goofy everyman, not always necessarily making the right choices, not always necessarily doing the things that you, the audience, might want to think he should do. And there's a whole lot of, no, don't do that kind of thing. But it is nice. It was a nice change of pace. The conspiracy nut in this is played by a black guy with his own radio station living in a trailer, which is nice because I think a lot of the time you'd have the Doubting Thomas would have been played by, like a redneck farmer or something like that. But this was, they made it a little different and still kept all of these characters within the roles that were cast in those 50-era monster movies. So they really did pay homage to them, but without making a complete carbon copy. And I think if they tried to do that, if the director and the producer and the writer had tried to make an exact copy of a 1950s film, note for note, but made it in the year 2002, it would have failed horribly. But they did do some things very similarly. This whole film they shot in 40 days. That is an incredibly tight schedule. I mean, I was really impressed when I heard that. I was listening to the commentary track on this, and it was the director, I think the special effects guy, I'm not sure, and David Arquette, who plays the main character. And it was very entertaining. It was nice listening to them, and I think it really brought the film alive a little more for me, because it's the first time I've seen it since I saw it in the theaters. And I could watch this again without the commentary, because it's just a lot of dumb fun. And also, this is the first film that Scarlett Johansson ever did, which I didn't realize. I remember the character of the girl playing the sheriff's daughter, Carrie Werwer's daughter in the film, but I didn't remember it was her. And I think they did a good job there, because they had certain physical characteristics that are close enough to each other that I believe they were mother-daughter, even though they weren't exactly like each other. And let's face it, they're both hot women. They were both hot women in this film, and they're both still hot women. But if you like the 50s era monster movies, and you enjoy comedic horror, this is not to be taken seriously in the least. This is very much light entertainment. But if you like that kind of thing, I think you could go far worse than Eight-Legged Freaks. It was a lot of fun. You got to see spiders munching on townsfolk and destroying things. You got to see people retreat to a mall and defend it against the invaders. There was just some really wonderful things in here. They were a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself. And, when it comes to popcorn entertainment, that's all you can ask for.